Okay, so hi everyone. Welcome to our second Youth Town Hall this year with the theme of Fresh Faces in Planetary Health. So, first I would like to mention that we'll be recording this town hall, but it's all good. We'll only be using snippets and highlights for posting and sharing a compilation video online afterwards. So, this Youth Town Hall is firstly to highlight the wonderful young new people to Planetary Health scene that are joining and leading events that promote sustainability and planetary health. Secondly, we want to hear from you. Hopefully you can share your own thoughts and ideas for future activities or events. All right, next. So the agenda for today, we'll start off with a brief introduction to Sunway Center for Planetary Health, as well as introduce ourselves. Then we'll dive into a fun crash course on planetary health. If you've never heard of that term or want to know more, this is the perfect place to learn. We'll also host a fun quiz to test your knowledge on Mentimeter, so make sure to have your phones ready. Then we'll have our first sharing session by a youth on her experience as a participant of a public policy competition, followed by an open floor to all of you on your ideas on what would make an engaging youth community platform. Then lastly, our final sharing session by other youths on their experience planning a survey and an upcoming roundtable. Next. So first, I'd like to give a brief overview of the Sunway Center for Planetary Health. So this is a research center based in Sunway University, Subanjaya, that's now been around since 2021 with a focus on advancing planetary health. So here at the center, we focus mainly on healthy cities, fossil fuel phase out, education for planetary health with a focus on youth engagement. So we have many ongoing projects and programs, including the Donut City project in Ipoh, in partnership with Majlis Bandaraya Ipoh, where they're adopting the donut economics model focused on urban regeneration and conservation. The center was founded by Tan Sri Jamilah Mahmud and slowly grew into a team of around 20 people today, split into 3 teams. First, knowledge and learning. Second, policy, strategy, and advocacy. And third, programs. So let's move on to our first session of the day. And I'll hand it over to you, Aina.
Hello everyone, I am Aina. I am a Policy, Strategy and Advocacy Executive at the Sunway Center for Planetary Health, and I just started about 2 weeks ago, so I think it might be easier for me to explain to you guys how planetary health works in a more beginner-friendly way. Alright, let's move on. Next slide please. We'll start with the most basic question surrounding planetary health because this is called a Planetary Health 101 course, right? So planetary health is about how our health depends on the health of the Earth. And I've made this as simple as it can be so that everyone can understand, because I was told that we have attendees as young as 16-year-olds in here as well. So yeah, if the planet gets sick, we get sick too. And that is the essence of what planetary health is in the most simplest words. Everything on Earth, ranging from water, animals, plants, and people, these elements are what we call the biosphere. It's everything that lives on Earth. So everything on Earth is interconnected. They are connected with each other. So when one part suffers, or when one element or factor suffers, the whole system can be affected. For example, can we move on to the next slide? You can see example number 1. I think in tropical countries like Malaysia or just the Southeast Asian region or the global South, it's very easy to get intimidated by the hot weather. What more, the weather that is getting worse as global warming gets worse as well every year. So if you're outside on a super hot day and you don't drink enough water, you might feel dizzy or even start to faint. And that is your body reacting to heat stress, just like how the planet is reacting to global warming. There's also the second example, which is burning fossil fuels like coal or gas or the petroleum that we fill our cars with. When these fossil fuels are burnt, they pollute the air. This is a well-known fact. And breathing it in is like trying to breathe in through a dusty cloth, or like the broom at the back of your house that is very dusty. It can really hurt your lungs. And the third example is mosquitoes and ticks. So these are insects that can bite us, but through those bites, they can transfer these diseases to us as well. And as the climate changes, these kind of insects, they can spread to newer places, making more people sick. Another example could be the topic of food insecurity. So imagine being really hungry or thirsty, but there's not enough water or clean food or clean water or nutritious food even. And that's what happens when we don't take care of nature itself. Nature is the one who provides us with all these services, all these food supplies to ensure that we survive. But without it, it really affects our rate of survival on this earth that is becoming, well, less and lesser as time passes. Next slide. So here's a question that we could think about. You don't have to answer it on the spot, but have you ever felt sick because of heat, bad air, or dirty water? Just like those examples I just mentioned. That's planetary health in action. So next is, why not just stick with the term climate change or climate action or environmental justice? These terms are just as good, but to make it more relatable to everyone, we have to see it in the lens of health, because health is something that everyone can understand. Talking about climate change through the lens of health makes it easier for us to care and connect, even if we're not scientists or activists that are actively contributing to the climate change scene. And our health condition is what allows us to function on the daily. So, do you think people would care more about climate change if they saw how it directly affects their health or their family's health? Next slide. So, why planetary health? Humans have done amazing things. We've built cities, large ones at best. We've invented technology that powers our screens, improved medicine for our health, cured multiple types of diseases, but we've also damaged the planet in the process. And this has led to, next slide please, climate change, the loss of animals and plants, or what we call as biodiversity loss, and pollution. These elements, when combined together, is what we call the triple planetary crisis. This is what you'll see a lot every time you'll read articles about planetary health. And can you think of something that humans have invented that helps us but also harms the planet? Next slide. How exactly did we damage the Earth? So, in our economies right now, we mostly use a linear system where we take stuff like trees, wood, soil, coal, rocks, iron, the things that we find in mines. If you play Minecraft, you would know the kind of natural resources you could find. And with these resources, we make stuff with them. We provide services, we provide products. But at the end of the life cycle of these products, we throw them away. And what happens to them when we throw them away? They end up in landfills and they take up so much space because they take a really long time to simply disappear and assimilate with the earth, like plastics, for example. So this system, this linear economic system, it really focuses just on making money, or what we call profit and growth. But it doesn't prioritize protecting nature. So there's also a better alternative that everyone in the scene is currently pushing for, which is what we call circular economic systems, or as Damia mentioned just now, donut economics, where the concept is to reuse and repurpose things to help both people and the planet. The waste that we produce, we find ways to repurpose it to contribute to our society, but also the planet. But still, even with the circular economic system in place, we really need good management that comes with it. And that is where the term governance comes in. Governance is about making smart decisions and working together, and not just at the government level. Everyone can be involved in it. For example, there are glass bottles. There are some businesses that turn glass bottles into pavements, like sidewalks, the pavements that we walk on. Some of them, those glass bottles are compressed and formed into a pavement. And what's even better is that water can pass through it so that when it rains, it doesn't easily cause a flood because the rainwater is able to be absorbed in the soil underneath that pavement. But there's also, for example, plastic waste being turned into bricks, or even plastic bottles turned into 3D printer filaments. So those are the kind of examples of how circular economic systems or products in the circular system could work. So let's think about the things that we use every day that could be repurposed instead of being thrown away. Keep that in mind. So next, excuse me. How did Planetary Health come about? In 2015, there was a big report by the Rockefeller Foundation and the Lancet that kicked things off for Planetary Health. That's where it really started to pave the way for Planetary Health. And shortly after, the Planetary Health Alliance was formed. It is a global group working to protect both people and the planet. Of course, it's like a Planetary Health global club as well that consists of many organizations from many countries, including the Sunway Center for Planetary Health. In 2021, after various meetings to set the agenda or what to include in the Sao Paulo Declaration, the Sao Paulo Declaration itself was then established. And it was signed by about 300 plus organizations from about 70 countries, mainly consisting from those in lower, lesser developed countries. It called for big changes in how we grow food, how we use energy, or how we treat nature and even each other. So let's think about why do you think it's important for countries to work together on planetary health? Think about that as well. Next. So how exactly can planetary health be practiced? Why exactly is it being practiced? Planetary health can look like national action plans. Malaysia is currently in the process of coming up with one. The trees on our roof, or what we call as green urban infrastructure, if you see in the slide, that's actually a real-life place in Singapore. It's called Kampong Admiralty. There's also the implementation of electric vehicles in public transportation or even personal transportation. It can look like these very big, major things, but it can also look like, next slide. It can also look like youth engagement. There's the first picture on the top left. That is actually a youth support group on building courage against climate anxiety. It really helps people, or young people like us, to stay hopeful and mentally strong in the face of climate challenges getting worse. And it really supports us building our emotional strength, which is what builds our overall physical health as well. In the second picture next to it are young representatives pushing for including planetary health in the ASEAN Youth Statement. It shows how youth are actually involved and actively pushing for influencing regional policy and decision making. It matters because it reflects what young people want leaders, especially at the regional level, to prioritize. A third example could be these young participants that were learning how to negotiate and pitch their causes. It helped them prepare to speak confidently in high-level spaces that can seem very scary, like climate summits or conferences or even government meetings. And it helps them build this leadership or advocacy skills that are very, very important for driving change in planetary health. Another one is not very a local example, but it still counts as one. It was a real life case in Hawaii. It was the Navahini against the Department of Transportation, where the youth over there, they had actually used legal action to demand a safe and healthy environment. And it really demonstrates how planetary health has included justice and the rights to a livable future. So, if you could change one thing in your school or community to support planetary health, with these examples in mind, what would it be? Next, please. So another key concept to understanding planetary health is planetary boundaries. So planetary boundaries are like the Earth's safety limits. They are these invisible lines that scientists say we shouldn't cross if we want the planet to stay healthy and safe for humans and all living things. So just imagine Earth as a giant living system like our bodies. Just like how our bodies have limits, for example, like how much heat we can handle, how much junk food we can eat, the Earth also has its limits, its boundaries, and has 9 boundaries in particular. Let's go over them very quickly. We'll start with novel entities or new entities. These include new substances that were introduced by humans that were man-made, like plastics, microplastics, and toxic chemicals that nature itself cannot break down easily. There's stratospheric ozone depletion. Big words. But it just means chemicals. It just refers to the chemicals that damage the ozone layer, which let harmful UV rays reach Earth. Another boundary is atmospheric aerosol loading. These are tiny particles from pollution that can affect air quality and weather patterns. There's ocean acidification, where too much carbon dioxide in the air from air pollution can make our oceans even more acidic and hurting marine life like coral and fish. That's why you hear cases of coral bleaching happening. Freshwater use, where too much clean water or too much clean water itself can dry out rivers, lakes, and aquifers. There's land system change, where we alter the landscape of the land by cutting down forests or changing the functions of the land that affects the climate and the wildlife. There are biogeochemical flows, where too much nitrogen or phosphorus chemicals from fertilizers can pollute water and soil. And finally, biodiversity loss, losing too many species that can weaken our ecosystems, and climate change, which refers to having too much greenhouse gas that traps heat, and that leads to global warming. So these are the 9 planetary boundaries that help us measure just how much of the Earth we've affected, the Earth systems that we've affected. So, which of these boundaries do you think could affect your life the most, and why? Think about that as well. So, just to summarize everything, let's go into the key concepts of planetary health. Next slide, please. Oh yeah, so these are the examples of just how much boundaries, planetary boundaries that we've crossed in the past few years. As of 2023, we've crossed about 6 boundaries altogether. We have 3 more boundaries that we have yet to cross, which is quite a concerning matter. Next slide, please. So these are the planetary health buzzwords that you might want to know when engaging in planetary health spaces. There's the concept of interdependence, where everything is connected. We rely on nature, and nature relies on us. There's the systems thinking concept, where a change in one part of the system can affect the whole system. There's the Anthropocene, and I haven't mentioned this yet, but it refers to the current era where humans have the power to change the planet, but in a bad way. I think a very relevant case example to this is the Trinity test, where it was the experimental deployment of a bomb during World War II or World War I, if I'm not mistaken. If you've watched, Oppenheimer, then you might know. The Trinity test actually produced these chemicals that were never before seen in human history or natural history itself. So that was the beginning that marked the era of the Anthropocene. Next is the concept of transdisciplinary or interdisciplinary. Planetary health itself uses ideas from many fields, not just the environment, but from science, health, economics, and a lot more. And the last concept you might want to remember is planetary boundaries. To repeat, it's the limits that we shouldn't cross if we want the Earth to stay livable and for us to survive as well.
So let's move on to our first youth sharing session with Robin Hin Bayan. She is a participant of the Malaysian Public Policy Competition this year, managed by the International Council of Malaysian Scholars, our ICMS. So the Malaysian Public Policy Competition is an annual competition that engages Malaysian students from all backgrounds in the public policy making process. So in this sharing session, Robin can tell us more about her journey joining the public policy competition. So, hey Robin, maybe you can turn your camera on?
Hello, can you guys hear me? My audio?
Yeah. Great.
Yeah.
Crisp.
Okay, I guess I'll just start by sharing a little bit about myself. So I think my name is Robin, and my Chinese name where people know me as Bayan. So currently I'm in my last year of finishing my American high school diploma. I believe it's a certification that's quite uncommon in Malaysia, but it's basically like A levels, but in the American education system and the syllabus. So I plan to double major in public policy and environmental science either, or political science and economics. So I believe that these areas of study align extremely well with my own talents and my all-around interests. I'm incredibly passionate about Malaysia and the world's political and economical climate, as well as the interdisciplinary nature of our own environmental science with our everyday lives. But other than that, I love classical studies, reading literature, and bioengineering. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for sharing that. So why did you decide to join the Malaysian Public Policy Competition?
So, okay, honestly, when I first heard about MPPC, I was extremely hesitant. I feel like competitions like MPPC, it's super serious, and the people that you meet, like, it's kind of intimidating, and I wasn't sure if I was exactly policy smart enough to jump into something so big. But then I wanted to really use the skills to contribute as well as involve my friends around me. So we ended up hyping each other up to give it a shot together. So that's when I realized that it's not really about having all the answers from the beginning, but more about really daring to think differently and actually caring about where Malaysia is headed in the future. So I did have some adequate experience in like the planetary health space or sustainability, and in conversations around sustainability, but this was my very first time, stepping into a competing environment where my own ideas have to be challenged and how I have to defend them. So, and really enough, I think that was what made it really exciting currently. The more we worked on our proposal, the more we worked on the competition, the more I also got passionate about contributing to policies that could push for sustainable growth and finding creative ways to make our own economy not just, innovative, but also future ready. Yeah.
Okay. So during the policy bootcamp, there were a lot of judges, so I can tell that it was very intimidating. Right. Could you tell us more about the process of how you were selected as a participant?
Yeah, sure. So the selection process for MPPC, it is basically just like a registration form they send to like the eager participants. Everyone was like, wanting to put their best selves forward, obviously. So the form itself is pretty straightforward, but the weight of it is in the details. So your resume to showcase your own background, but most importantly, your 3 short but very telling essays about yourself. So the first one I would say is why do you wish to join MPPC as a participant? The second is, as Malaysia strives to transition into a high-income nation, and to move away from low value-added industries. So what public policy initiative would you propose to create more high-skilled and high-income job opportunities for Malaysian youth? And the last question was, with the rise of educated youth facing underemployment and skills mismatch, how would you design a public policy to better align education and training and career pathways with Malaysia's evolving economic needs? So I think these 3 questions really set the tone. It's more than having like generic answers, but about, showing your real passion and your vision for the country's future. And when it came to answering the questions personally, I learned that, I wasn't trying to be too polished with my responses, but also, weaving into what I already know and I already consume and experience on, a daily basis. I think one tip I would share with everyone is to use the media that you engage with every day, whether it be articles, podcasts, connect those ideas back into your short essays. And the second tip I would give is to anchor yourself and anchor your answers into your own passion as well as your personal journey, because I think that's what makes your answer authentic. You have to always approach this kind of learning with intention, and it's about being conscious of what you take in and how you can apply that to real issues. So many people, I believe, like to drop in the word sustainability as like a sort of buzzword. But I guess what makes a difference is being able to articulate what are the actual steps and policies and innovation that could really drive Malaysia towards this kind of sustainable and high value growth. So, to end this part, I believe that my own passion and my enthusiasm shone when I was writing the prompts and the answers. So yeah, it's more about what I see around me and how I wish what was different and how I can be a part of that change as well. Yeah.
I'm hearing a lot of bringing your own personal experiences into your storytelling and your essay writing. So thank you, Robin, for that. Can I ask how the experience has been being involved in the Malaysian Public Policy competition so far? So in the policy bootcamp, and then also how are you feeling about the semi-finals and finals that are coming up this weekend?
I actually am really nervous about the new semifinals and finals. But all in all, I would say that it's been a very fulfilling journey. It's definitely very fruitful and a blessing to be able to be part of MPPC with my own teammates. So I'll say the best part obviously has to be my teammates and my own, like the people that I work with. Prior to this, I had a friend that I was supposed to join the competition with, but I think she dropped out. And I consider actually dropping out as well because I was intimidated. But I would say my teammates really carried me through. So, they're not here, but I'd just like to give them a shout out to Amar, Jesse, and Fatiha. So I think they turn out to be the best people ever throughout this journey. We kind of balance each other out in the best way possible. And each of us, we bring different strengths and perspectives to the table. And that kind of dynamic really made the brainstorming session feel like a breakthrough. So the first bootcamp as well really set the tone for the rest of my MPPC journey. It's through the exciting activities, I would say learning more about planetary health and tying that to my own interests. I believe what struck me most was how the organizers, Miss Tasha, as well as the entire ICMS committee carried themselves with so much enthusiasm. So when they joined us for the little activities, I genuinely felt like I was looking at my future self, because they're the kind of people that I deeply look up to, and the energy made me want to one day contribute to others in the same way, and hopefully to also be the organizing committee for MPVC. But going on to challenges for the competition, it obviously wasn't very smooth sailing. The first struggles that we faced early on was figuring out how to niche up our ideas. We wanted to focus on education, the education system, but we found that the scope was way too broad and didn't really quite hit the mark of explaining economic structure, economic acceleration in terms of sustainability and innovation exactly. So one thing that we did our best was try to consult with a lot of people, ask mentors, our peers, and we finally narrowed down our focus into like the intersection of artificial intelligence, digital fluency and human capital. I feel like that kind of interdisciplinary is something that is a lot tangible and it's a lot relevant to today, and as well as relevant to Malaysia's growth in the future. And yeah, so the two people that we work with a lot was also Miss Norlida. She has a strong background in policy and ESG. So she patiently read through like all our proposals and helped us. And the other person for our semifinals mentor was Mr. Badri. He works as the principal of Talent Corp. So we got a lot of data that we used in our presentation for semifinals from him as well. So I would say working with everyone is really like fruitful and definitely a blessing. Yeah.
Wow, that's a lot of prep work for the semifinals and finals I didn't know about, but yeah. Thank you for sharing, Robin, and for also giving tips. So if anyone here that's joining is interested in joining the Malaysian Public Policy Competition or any public policy competition coming up next year, then yeah, those are really good tips. To try to tie your passion into your essay writing, to work with different types of people from different backgrounds, interdisciplinary. Yeah, so if you have any other questions you'd like to ask Robin, please do so here in the comment section.
I think before the questions for like the rest, like the floor, actually I do have like 3 more advice if I could possibly. Yeah, so actually the first piece of advice before anyone joins MPPC like next year or like a space like this, it would be to be very intentional with the media you consume. I know I mentioned this just now, but I really want to emphasize this because like we're constantly bombarded, on TikTok with a lot of information, but we tend to scroll passively or take things at face value. But I feel like competitions like MPPC or even being involved with like SCPH, it demands you to really think on your feet, to apply the knowledge to real world issues, and that only can happen through the media that you consume, whether it be podcasts or articles or documentaries, with intent. So, ask yourself, what can I learn from this? How does this relate to, policy making? How does this relate to innovation and sustainability? So when you practice consuming with purpose, you'll find that your ideas start to have more depth and direction, and that shows, of course, in your essays and your discussions as well. I feel like my advice is quite straightforward, but sometimes it goes over people's head. I would say another piece of advice for MPPC is to always ask, whether it be your friends, your mentor, your peers, your family, even though they might not seem like the best people to ask or they won't really know what kind of things you're doing. I feel like it's definitely good because it opens up a lot of perspective of what other people might think of a certain policy in Malaysia, for example. So finally, always try to explore interdisciplinaries like transdisciplinaries or multidisciplinaries, because some of the most powerful ideas really come from seeing 2 or more fields overlap together. So for example, how does political science impact our environment, or how does technology shape our education and our human capital? So these kind of intersections really like broaden your worldview and challenge you to see problems from angles that you wouldn't have really considered before. And I would say in MPPC, this mindset really helped me because policy is definitely not isolated. In fact, it's interconnected with everything around you. So by training yourself to look across multiple disciplines, you not only become creative, but you also become more realistic in designing solutions that can work in, the complex and messy world that we live in. So it's the kind of thinking that I would say turns, a good policy idea into a feasible and practical one for, the rakyat or for the people. Yeah.
But if not, the Sunway Center for Planetary Health has recently launched a Planetary Health Youth Action Network. So this Youth Action Network is a community platform for young people aged around 15 to 30 to share and receive bite-sized news and updates on all things planetary health. So this includes exclusive events and trainings and workshops, both locally and regionally in Southeast Asia. It's also a safe space for you to connect with other young people that care deeply about protecting the planet through the WhatsApp group, online and physical meetups as well, because we're planning to host movie screenings, book club picnics, cafe hangouts where we can discuss the latest topics and trends according to different themes. So this can range from discussing big topics like climate change and environmental conservation to everyday topics like food, fashion, and public health. So if you'd like to join the Youth Action Network or hear more about it, you can scan the QR code here to register. So now I'll hand it over to my colleague Hannes Zemi, who's our program officer here at the Sunway Center for Planetary Health, to ask you some questions on what you would like out of this youth community platform and what themes you might be curious to cover. Over to you, Hannes.
Thank you, Damia. Hi, everybody. So as Damia has introduced me, I'm Hannes Azmi. I'm the program officer here at SCPH. If you saw someone someone popping up, that's Nazia. She's our head of programs, partnerships, and implementation. So I'm just going to leave the QR here for a bit, just in case anyone wants to scan that. But we'll also put that up later on in the session, so no worries. Could we have the Mentimeter up, please, Arslan? So the next maybe 10 to 15 minutes would be an interactive session. You've kind of heard from our two youth speakers previously, so now we want to hear from you instead. So please feel free to scan the QR code to Mentimeter, but if that doesn't work for you, you can join at menti.com and use the code. It's 412-10378. So this would be on the screen the entire way. So it would be great if you can input your answers. I think it'll be quite a fun session if all of us participate as well. So let's get to it. Let's go to our first question. Okay, so just a simple one. Where are you based? So where do you live, or if you have moved out of your hometown to go to university, where do you currently live now? Just for us to get an idea of where we all are from in the room. So it would be great if we can see, okay, we have people from Kuala Lumpur. We have someone from Ipoh. Great. Shah Alam, Seremban, Setiawangsa. Got Penang as well. Oh, USM. Okay. Yes, we got Kelantan too. Great. Semenyih. Okay, Semenyih is close to my heart because I was also from Nottingham. Damia was also from Nottingham as well. So it's great to see Semenyih pop up. We've got Cheras, Subang Jaya, which is quite close by to Sunway as well. Who else have we got? Shah Alam, Puchong. Anyone else? Do we have anyone who's not from Malaysia? It'll be great to know as well. But I think we are all, yes, we have a Malaysia there. We love it. Okay, so we have Pahang as well, so that's nice. So it's great that we are all from different parts of Malaysia. As Damia mentioned, we will be planning some in-person events in the coming months and moving forward. So we'll try to be as inclusive as possible in terms of location, but I think we do have quite a number of people from the Klang Valley. But everyone else who's based in either Penang or Kelantan or Pahang, you're free to join us and make a trip out of it. So let's move on to the next question. All right, so what are your expectations of joining the Planetary Health Youth Action Network? So Damia has shared the QR code earlier, and I believe some of you are already part of the Youth Action Network. You've already signed up, but for those of you who are kind of thinking about it, what are your thoughts on it? We want to hear what you think and what you want to get out of that experience. So there are no right or wrong answers. Okay, casual but informative based on themes. Yeah, that's a really good one. So that's something we also are in talks with right now, is that we want to make sure that the events that we have kind of focus in on a theme so that all of us can be well acquainted and get to know it better. You like to make new friends and also meet more young individuals with differing insights. That's great. I love that you pointed out meeting more young individuals with differing insights. I think a safe place for us to discuss and kind of share ideas is really important, especially if we want to make change and push things forward. You want to do networking, connect with others, fun activities. I can assure you that we are working very hard to come up with fun activities for us to meet and experience together. to have a platform for youth to voice out their struggles. Okay, this is very real. This is so real. We want to make sure that the Youth Action Network is also a space that we can all share our worries. I think Aina also shared that we organized a climate courage workshop, which is a workshop to it's aimed to equip young people to address climate anxiety or kind of ill feelings that you might feel when you're worried about the climate crisis. So these are just one of the few things that we have coming up in the next few months. So that's something we can all look forward to gather more perspectives from other peers on a lot of things related to planetary health. Yeah, I think that's something that we're all excited for. I think we can scroll down, Arslan. There might be a few more. Oh, nice. There's a lot more. I love it. Okay. As an environmental student, I gain more knowledge about environmental and our Earth. As a former environmental student, I'm happy to share that there's always so many new things to learn. It will give an environmental background, will give you the technical knowledge, but also coming into a space like the Youth Action Network will really help you kind of put these things into practice and perspective, especially because planetary health involves not just human health, but it's quite holistic as well. So I'm excited for you to gain more knowledge too. Okay, so interlinkages of different disciplines in advancing climate actions. I think Aina also covered that earlier in her sharing session. Okay, so I love the honesty. I don't have any expectation. That's good, actually, in some situations. But I do like to broaden my horizon on this topic since it feels related to ecology. And it's nice to know new generation are trying to change the world, small or big step. I like that. That's a very hopeful message. And I hope that the person who put this message in would also join us too. Because and we hope that we exceed your expectations. Okay, so I think we have quite positive responses of joining the Planetary Health Youth Action Network. So we hope to host you at some of our events, and we look forward to having you as well. Okay, so we can move to the next question, I think. What are your expectations of joining? Oh, sorry. Oh, I think the next question is a vote.
Maybe we can go to the next slide.
Yep. Next question, please, Arslan. Yeah, great. Okay, what are some themes and key topics you'd love to explore? So I think in the previous question, a lot of you were keen to learn more about some interlinkages, or because planetary health is interdisciplinary, so you can link quite a lot of areas, key focus areas into one. So what are some topics that you personally are interested in and want to share more with a group of us, or just topics in general that you feel that you're not very well versed but would love to learn more about? Fast fashion, nice. Ingredients, okay, that's a really interesting one. I think ingredients is important because that's also part of a sustainable supply chain, which is very much related to human health, because it's a lot of it is what we consume, and it affects not just the air around us but also water sources as well. So that's a good one. Circular economy, carbon accounting is a big one. It's also up and coming. Green jobs. Okay, so also for green jobs, just a bit of a pitch after Robin's sharing earlier as well. The MPPC semi-finals and finals this weekend. The theme is innovating our economy, reimagining our careers, and it's with a focus with green jobs as well. So if anyone is interested, you can attend the finals round of the public policy competition. It's when the finalist groups will present their final policy pitches, and it will touch on green jobs. So if you are free this Sunday, 1 p.m. onwards, you can come to Sunway University and check it out. So more information is on the Sunway CPH Instagram account. You can find a post on it there. Okay, helping out our orang asli. Oh, indigenous people and indigenous knowledge is also quite important, especially in Malaysia. We have our orang asal and orang asli, so that could be something that we can explore too. Economics, climate governance, okay, climate policy. We do have a policy, strategy, and advocacy team here at Sunway Center for Planetary Health, so that could be something that we can have a sharing session on, or probably with a focus for our events. Laila has also shared our link to our Instagram. If you haven't followed our Instagram, you can go ahead and follow us there for any updates. Mega biodiversity, oceans, greenwashing. Yeah, that could be something that we also look into. Okay, so these are really great topics for discussion, and we've captured quite a big number here. So this is actually going to help us plan for you guys moving forward. So thank you so much for sharing. We can move to the next question, which would build on the previous questions actually. So what do you not understand about planetary health? What do you find confusing? What about planetary health makes you kind of take a step back and be like, oh, this is a bit too much. It's a bit intimidating. I'm glad to see Alia is still here. So maybe some of the questions that people are going to pose here, maybe Aina can also help us give some insights. So yeah, what do you not understand about planetary health? Same with sustainability. Okay, so I think this one is more on what are the main differences between, well, the difference between sustainability and planetary health. Like you feel like it's quite intertwined, but maybe planetary health and SDG. So Aina, do you want to take this question, or maybe these two? So I think the question is, how do we differentiate sustainability with planetary health, and probably the SDGs too?
I had the same question about sustainability a few days ago as well. It's quite a topic that's even confusing among those who are also practicing planetary health itself professionally. But sustainability is not exclusively just about the environment. It's just the practice of being able to preserve something for the long term. And it doesn't just apply to natural resources. It could be corporations or companies use this a lot. So in terms of preserving money or preserving labor or your workers and all that, that's in corporate terms. So it can be applied, sustainability can be applied in just about any field, not just the environmental aspect. Planetary health itself, on the other hand, I think because of how it's an interdisciplinary field, it can intertwine with sustainability as well. Not quite sure how to elaborate on that, but yeah, that's something to reflect on as well.
All right.
What's the other? This is also SDGs, right?
Yeah. So I
The
think
question of SDGs.
Yeah. Do you want to have a go at that? An attempt?
Yeah. I guess for SDGs, it focuses on a lot of aspects, be that being economic, social, political, in terms of equity and justice as well. But I think it's a matter of what each of these fields are trying to emphasize. So for planetary health, on the other hand, it's trying to emphasize public health with the Earth's health. For SDGs, these are just goals that we could refer to in order to sustain ourselves as human beings and our resources that we need to survive. But they can be used to complement each other. It doesn't have to be two separate things. The same way with climate change and environmental justice, as well as indigenous knowledge and the buzzwords that you would hear in the field itself. Yeah. that's my attempt at it.
Thanks, Aina. I also probably want to add an attempt at that question is also the SDGs have a target to be achieved by 2030. And with the planetary health agenda, we are looking beyond 2030. Because I think for our generation, especially Gen Zs, like 2030 is in 5 years' time. Some of you guys probably, or some of us probably would just graduate university at that time. Some of us, probably have our first job. It's definitely not kind of, in terms of a timeline, it's quite short. So Planetary Health aims to look at a future that is livable and healthy for all of us when we reach, our 50s, 60s, 70s, which is way down the line. So thanks, Aina, for attempting that question. It's a tough one, but that's something that we continue to explore.
I just wanted to add on to what you were saying also. I think that Sustainable Development Goals is also more of a framework, a structure that you can apply to local level, onto cities as well. Whereas I think planetary health is a concept and more global, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, so that's my shot at it.
Thanks, Damya. So, I mean, just for everyone kind of watching, that's kind of an insight to what a space for discourse and discussion looks like between young people, which we hope that when a lot of you join the Youth Action Network, we can have more discussions and sharing sessions and perspectives as well. So I'm just going to read out a few more inputs that have been put in while we were giving our inputs. What are the main themes of planetary health? Can everyone contribute? I think definitely everyone can contribute because we all live on this planet and we all have different levels of different health levels, but we all are working towards a more livable and healthy planet. So I think everyone that can definitely contribute. The purpose of planetary health, how do we communicate? Where do we prioritize? That's definitely a lot of areas, key focus areas that you can integrate planetary health into. So it's not like a standalone. Planetary health is something that's interdisciplinary. So even though you, let's say, study economics, there's always a way for you to integrate and approach planetary health issues. Are public aware of this? So that's kind of part of the movement. I think it's similar if we want to relate it to climate change. Maybe if you think about it, a few years ago, a lot of people are still getting acquainted or familiarizing themselves with it. But I think now if you ask a lot of school-going children, they know what climate change is. So it is a process for all of us. Planetary health is growing. So just for your information, SCPH also has a playbook for kids. It's a Upin Ipin theme playbook. So it's like an activity book and it teaches them about planetary health. If we have a meetup, we can bring the physical copy. But if anyone is interested, we can also send the soft copy to you as well. So that's an initiative that we've been putting out there, is increasing awareness, not at school level. Yeah. Okay, I think I have just one more question for everybody after this. If we can move to the next. Yeah. What kind of programs or events do you like attending? So earlier we got topics like fast fashion. We have topics such as ingredients. So I think you guys are foodies. So what kind of programs or events do you like attending? Damya also mentioned movie screenings or book clubs. So these are events that we are looking into making in person. But if you want to do it virtually, what kind of programs or events do you look forward to? Makan or nature excursions? Of Of course, makan is so important. And so that's also another thing. It's like when you tie in planetary health to our identity as who we are as Malaysians, I think we can relate to it a lot better. So yeah, I think the idea of makan matcha. So yes, we can also set that up to meet at a matcha place. Informative events in general are fun. I agree. I love learning, continuously learning from everything and everyone. So I like that idea. Something like a picnic, that is also nice. We could look into that and probably discuss a theme or a topic. Fun and interactive events. If I may suggest like a home economics class or kemahiran hidup where we can make a simple dish that relates to planetary health. I love that. I love kemahiran hidup classes. So for anyone who is not familiar, a kemahiran hidup is basically living skills if we translate it to English. So in the Malaysian education system, we had kemahiran hidup classes in school. So this is where we learn how to sew on buttons, we learn how to fix a leaking pipe, we learn how to cook things. So this is a really great idea. Something I can share that I read recently is for Malaysians, the art or even eating ulam, our indigenous plants and vegetables, is kind of dying out. So this could be something we explore. How do we make ulam into a really nice dish? Something like that. I'm just throwing ideas around. But if anyone has any other ideas after this call, feel free to reach out to us. We have a Youth Action Network WhatsApp group chat, so we can put in ideas in there as well. So for anyone who's not in that group chat and would like to join it, please sign up and scan the QR code so we can get your information and contact details. Planet Saving Meal Cooking class. We can integrate that with the kemahiran hidup or home economics class as well. Maybe also events with orang asli to hear from them about planetary health as they are deeply connected with it. I love this idea, because orang asli, the way they still have their they still live quite predominantly near the forest, and they are so knowledgeable. A lot of us have also had that knowledge, but I think over time and generations we've kind of lost touch with it. So yeah, this is something we can also explore. I love this idea. Games and treasure hunts, solving quizzes. Also fun, we can also integrate that. Nature journal tour across the sanctuaries. I'm kind of wondering how our country is doing in conserving the endangered species that's special in our land. Apologies if I sound weird. You do not sound weird. Don't worry about it. Yeah, I think that's a really great idea for us to kind of reconnect with what exactly is happening in our natural environment. Just an example, like our Malayan tigers. We have it on our Jata Negara, which is our national emblem. Our Harimau Malaya is our football team. Southern Tigers is our Johor team. We use the tiger as such a symbol for what it means to be Malaysian, but in reality, we have less than 200 tigers in the wild. So, this is something that we really need to be in touch with again. So that could be something that we explore. So I love that idea too. And don't worry, you don't sound weird at all. Bring back traditional things and integrate it. Yes, we could also do that. So yeah, I think we have so many great ideas, and I like that we've been quite interactive this session. Thank you so much, everyone, for putting in your ideas. We're definitely capturing all of your responses. Okay, one more is journal workshops are kind of trending. We could do a nature-based, recycle-based one, so we only journal with items from nature or from items we can upcycle or recycle. Oh my god, this gives me like the book that we used to do in Seni class. So in art class, we used to cut the newspaper and then like paste it. Yeah, I think these are very nostalgic and it helps us reconnect with who we are as a community. So thank you everyone for your inputs. I'm very, very excited. But yes, again, reminder, if you have any other ideas after this, join the Youth Action Network. We can put you into the group chat and then we can explore ideas there together.
Final sharing session. Let's welcome Kuha and Hao, who are both participants of a Global Health Governance as Public Service or GHGAPS training that we held this year. they will share their experiences on actively transforming their ideas into action. So this includes the National Planetary Health Survey that we launched last month. If you saw that circling around in your emails or on WhatsApp, and an upcoming event called the Planetary Health Youth Roundtable that we're planning later this year. So hi, Hao and Kuha. Maybe Hao can go first and share a little bit about himself, and then Kuha can go next.
Hi everyone, checking if this is audible.
Yeah, great.
Yeah. So my name is Mo Chang, or I go most commonly by Hao. I'm currently a college student, majoring bio in econ and with the concentrations in community and global health. So I'm currently studying. I'm very happy to be here today. I'm all the way from Malacca, but currently I'm based in US for my studies. A bit of backgrounds and affiliations wise, I used to be a GHCAPS 2025 participant and then the Education GHCAP delegate to World Health Assembly this year. So I've been really appreciative of the opportunities so far engaging planetary health efforts in Malaysia. So I think I'm going to pass it to Koha.
All right. Am I audible?
Yes.
Okay, great. Hi, everyone, and also thanks, Pao, for passing it over to me. So, my name is Puha. I'm currently a final year undergraduate student at University Malaya. Typically outside of university, I'm involved in a lot of youth empowerment related initiatives, some of them with Malaysian Youth Diplomacy, Tunggu Scholars Association Malaysia, and so on. This year, I was part of the GHGAPS program with Sunway Center for Planetary Health, same as Hao, and we were both participants throughout the training program. And after that, I was also a participant representing the GHGAPS program to the ASEAN 2025 Youth Dialogue. So from there, I think you may have also seen a snippet of it in Aina's slides earlier. We actually did have a session where we contributed to the editing of the youth statement that was presented to the leaders of ASEAN countries during that particular youth dialogue session. So it was really great. And we're actually looking forward to bringing this initiative forward and really hoping to get you guys more involved in the work that all of us are doing as well. So yeah, I'll pass it over back to Damia.
Okay. So thank you for sharing both Hao and Kuha. Just wanted to ask, what were your reasons for joining the Global Health Governance training and what were your key learnings? So we'll start off with Hao and then Kuha again.
Well, actually, it's a long story. My personal interest been lying between climate actions and disaster medicines. So I've been always looking into planetary health and environmental health or climate health, generally speaking. Initially joined GHCAPS for mainly one reason, just to be the skill and knowledge to better communicate the urgency as well as cost of inactions in today's warming world, recognizing that Malaysia stand in one of the most important positions or decision maker in the world today, making making decisions in the global plastic tragedy or voting for the global action plans or climate change in health. So that is the very main aim of it. But after all, it was very grateful that along the way, I find it amazing how supportive the committee is, and they have been a really real source of inspirations of all, and we're happy to continue the efforts what we learned in GHGAPS to some other ideas and activities we're currently doing to better advocate for planetary health and planetary health equity in Malaysia in the broader region too.
Over to you, Kuha.
Thanks, Damia. I mean, I think my story resonates a lot with Hao's story as well. A lot of us who come into the GHGAP program do have an interest, I guess, in the field before we started. However, I think I would say that mine is not as impressive as Hao's. I did start from a pretty basic background. So my background is actually international relations, not very environmental or health focused on either spectrum. but I've been involved in a lot more sustainability works. And from my involvement previously looking at sustainable development goals, and then I looped into um, the work that Sunway Center for Planetary Health was doing on planetary health. And I was like, wow, this is so interesting, right? It's a combination of environment as well as health. And it got me really thinking that there's still so much that I don't know about this field in particular. And it's such an important field. We don't necessarily see how it interlinks or interconnects with one another. And with the hope that I would be able to learn more, I applied for GHCAPS and thankfully they accepted me in. And from there, I was able to learn a lot more, I guess I would say, about planetary health as a whole, and also met a very supportive community along the way. Not just the Sunway Center for Planetary Health, although they have been immensely supportive and I'm very grateful to them for that. But they've also helped to foster a very supportive youth community that we have in the GHCAP program. So even on normal days, we just text one another and ask each other updates or keep each other in the loop on what's going on, as well as providing opportunities for one another to be more involved in the work that Sunway Center for Planetary Health does, as well as in the planetary health scene as a whole. So yeah, back to you, Damya.
Okay, thank you for that, both of you. Very inspiring. How did the idea, this is over to you, Kao, but how did the idea for a national planetary health survey come about? So why is this planetary health survey important?
Right. Before we jump directly into questions, also to second with what Damia mentions before, being engaged in planetary health doesn't mean that you need to come from a planetary health background or environmental science backgrounds, and everyone can engage meaningfully, and that is being shown by how Kua and I have been able to contribute meaningfully in planetary health work nationally and regionally as well. Talking about the survey itself, I think go all the way back to long story how the whole roundtable started, which I believe Kua is going to share more details about how the roundtable is going to be organized. But essentially the very main idea of it is to understand the state of planetary health in Malaysia, right? And as shared, planetary health efforts started all the way in 2015 or probably earlier around the world. And it is important for us to recognize what is our next step taking into post-2030 sustainability agenda beyond the SDG frameworks that we're currently tracing for such a long time. And as we look beyond 2030, what are the lenses we can take, such as planetary health, to prompt systemic and structural reforms in the way we're doing? So the whole idea with the supportive Center for Planetary Health emerged in a way that a survey will do, right, to help us inform how much we need in our effort to prompt planetary health lenses in our national planning process. And we started with a survey. We aim to distribute the survey to as many partners as possible, to have as many responses as possible, which we believe, I think Kuha will also be sharing the link for the survey after this, to have all of us here be part of the voices or conversations we're going to have in building a planetary health movement in Malaysia.
Okay, so can you talk more about why it's very important and why people should be filling it out?
Great. So the World Health Assembly this year adopted the landmark Global Action Plans on Climate Change and Health, and as well as in PHAM last year, 2024, the Planetary Health Annual General Meetings have came out with the global roadmaps as well as the action plan for planetary health. And Malaysia have mandated mostly the Ministry of Technology as well as the Academy of Science Malaysia to came out with a draft National Action Plan in Planetary Health. And what this signals us is currently Malaysia is taking such a bold steps forward across the world, across the regions, in integrating planetary health in the national planning process. And along this process, youth are playing meaningful roles. Civil society organizations can be part of the conversations on how this can be done in a more responsive way that are responsive to community, responsive to youth, responsive to genders, and so on. And therefore, it is important for us to bring all of our voices into one platform, such as the survey, and better inform the national planning process, whether for the national action plans or for the broader efforts in Malaysia. So what's going to be out of the survey is a synthesis report of the state of planetary health in Malaysia, and hopefully it's able to capture the aspirations of leaders and youth people working at frontline planetary health, as well as the communities living at the margins, as well as some of them who are experiencing the lived realities being threatened by climate change and whatsoever. So these are going to be a great instruments for us to propel our effort as well as movements forward and better advocate for planetary health in a way that is more data-driven as well as evidence-based.
Okay, thanks for sharing that, Hal. So over to you, Kuha. How does the National Youth Planetary Health Roundtable link back to this survey? And why is this roundtable important?
All right, sure. Thanks so much for sharing the question to me. I believe Hao has mentioned quite extensively about the importance of having that really data-backed insights, I'd say, from the survey itself. And I guess that is a shift towards a much more, I'd say, science and evidence-based research that the global movement is currently doing as well. The roundtable, on the other hand, it would actually help to keep this movement more grounded in the realities that are faced by young people here in Malaysia. So a lot of times when we are engaging in high-level political discussions, or when we're looking at conversations around planetary health, we see that a lot of it is quite high-level discourse, a lot of jargon being thrown around, and a lot of times young people don't really have access. And even if we do have access to the spaces, understanding it is like a whole other realm entirely, right? So for us to be able to access these spaces and to be able to meaningfully contribute to them, it's quite difficult when there aren't spaces being purposefully made for that reason specifically. So for that reason, we've actually tried to develop the National Roundtable for Planetary Health this year in tandem with the survey, so that it's not just something that we collect, rather the insights that we're getting, but also we are able to, number one, be able to hear personal experiences on how you are affected by planetary health and what are your thoughts and what you would like to see in the years to come for planetary health, right? Especially from a Malaysian standpoint. A lot of us would see that there is just like this bubble that people who are within the field would be the ones contributing back to it, and it oftentimes leaves people who are not from the particular background to be in the conversation. But it's very important that we do get everyone in. So people like you and me who don't really have any background in either environment or health, so this is the space for us to actually be able to come together and be able to share our thoughts freely. And I think a very important feature that we're having with this particular roundtable is to actually have two separate tracks, which is one is the youth track and the second is the public organizations track. So the reason why we're having two separate tracks is to actually make it much more, I'd say, youth friendly for young people to be able to sit amongst their peers and be able to discuss about issues that are really meaningful to them. And this will feed into not just the report of the roundtable that we will be publishing together with the results of the survey, but most importantly, a youth statement that is entirely youth-led, supported and backed by professionals within the planetary health scene in Malaysia. So I hope that gives you a little bit of an idea about what the roundtable is going to be like.
So to close out, I'd like to wrap up on what we've covered today from our fresh faces in planetary health, and then share with you some events we have coming up. So first, we learned the importance of planetary health from Aina, from the policy team at Sunway Center for Planetary Health, that human development and progress shouldn't come at the cost of the planet, and that if we take care of the health of the earth, we can protect our own health too. And we need to remember that everything is interconnected. Second, we learn how exactly to get involved in planetary health as a young person by joining these types of competitions, trainings, workshops, and sharing your ideas to make them a reality. Lastly, the best way to be updated on the latest news and events on planetary health is to get involved with your local community. So, for example, by joining the community platform under Sunway Center for Planetary Health, which is the Youth Action Network. The QR code is again in the comment section. So, here are some events that we are Here are some events that we're planning and coming up this year. So again, the National Youth Planetary Health Roundtable is planned for October. If you would like to give your inputs, again, you can register your interest in the survey. So we also have some climate courage workshops that Hannes also mentioned before this, that we are planning to host at different universities across Malaysia this year. And these workshops are basically to equip young people with the right skills on how to manage their eco-anxiety, to improve their mental health and focus on empowering climate action. We also have another youth town hall coming up in the last quarter of this year, and the theme is undecided. If you have any ideas of your own, you can join the Youth Action Network and then share those ideas with us, and we can try to make that happen. We're all ears. So overall, stay tuned.